fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration. And like The Godfather, if y'all remember that movie, when he said, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. just when I thought I was done until Boston, they pull me back in. We got some things to talk about, don't we? Yeah, hell, I thought I was done for the week going to Boston, and damn it, if Renfroe didn't go and fuck some shit up, so hell, I'm back. I'm back. We're going to talk about it today. I've got Charlie Miller's going to come on, and we're going to talk at length about it, so I'm not going to talk too much beforehand because we talked a long time about it. I am wore the fuck out. I just got home, been in an arbitration down in Memphis, a removal for a young man, and it went pretty damn good, but it took forever getting home because of standstill traffic. It took about 3 times longer than it normally would, so I've just gotten home, still in my suit, and but I've got to get this done because I said I was going to do one on Thursday, but I'm fucking wore out, and you probably can hear it in my voice, but anyway, it ain't going to keep me from cussing this motherfucker out that sent out this letter. I'll tell you that. I ain't that wore out to cuss this bitch out, but I want to talk about some things before that. Remember, Shirt Day is Wednesday. Now, I have heard that some regional, some MBAs and some branch presidents have said if they see you wearing a From 8 Arbitration shirt, they will make you take it off. You cannot wear it into the convention. So y'all do what you want to do. How far have we fallen to where they're worried about what y'all are going to wear to the fucking convention? That's what somebody told me. Said that our branch president said we could not wear From 8 Arbitration shirts on Wednesday or at the convention, and that if we're seen with them, they're going to make them take them off. I wish a motherfucker would try to tell me what in the fuck I can wear. But hell, y'all do what you want to do, man. I don't want to get nobody in trouble, but fuck. I think I know one of the business agents that said it. That bitch motherfucker wouldn't say shit to me. Maybe he will in Boston. Maybe he's been waiting all this time to come address something. There's no better time to address something than when you're face to face. I've always said that. If you've ever had a gripe or a beef or anything with me, the best time to say something is in Boston. I'll be there. So if this motherfucker wants to come say something, I'll be there. Trust me. But to tell people they can't wear a certain shirt or something, that's just Bush League there. But anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. If y'all wear a From 8 Arbitration shirt, we're going to make you take it back off. Yeah. So anyway, Shirt Day is Wednesday. So hopefully everybody wears their shirts. All right. Had something sent to me about the hip. And this is funny because Mr. Cariff came on and we talked about hip, and he talked about how he was going to take that to the convention about hip and how the national parties have screwed that up. He's got all these cases. You know, we've got the one out of Nashville. And I was saying, you know, if they're talking about it being interpretive, how are cases going to arbitration? That means it's not sent as interpretive or possibly interpretive. There should be no cases going to arbitration if that's the case. If they're saying that this case, hip, is potentially an interpretive issue, then no cases should be going forward. Yet there are some sliding through the cracks. How is that possible? Kara said, hey, I'm going to take it to the convention, and we're going to address it. Well, lo and behold, July 30th, here comes this from Barner's daddy, James Lloyd. And this is what it says. Mr. Paul Barner tells where he's at. Dear Paul, on February 6th, you were informed the above referenced case was referred for review of a possible interpretive issue in accordance with Article 15. The issue for review was whether the heat illness prevention program training was required by the collective bargaining agreement. After reviewing the matter, it is determined a national interpretive issue is not presented in this case since the training is not a contractual requirement. The Postal Service unilaterally developed several communications such as safety talks, stand-up talks, screensavers, electronic messaging, and the HERO course referenced above to inform employees of the Heat Illness Prevention Program, HIP. The development and administration of this training is at the sole discretion of management and was not collectively bargained for and therefore does not fall under contract compliance. Based on the above, the case is remanded to the step of the grievance procedure for which it was referred, and the local parties are advised to handle it accordingly. Additionally, any cases held pending this referral should be handled in the same manner. So, there you have it. Obviously, Carol scared the shit out of him because here we get this letter. Here's the problem with the letter. When it says the development and administration of this training is at the sole discretion of management and was not collectively bargained for and therefore does not fall under contract compliance, the M39 was not collectively bargained for. That's their handbook. We had no part in it. So can we not use that anymore? I think we can. I don't know if the M41 handbook is collectively bargained for. Is it? I don't think so. Is the EL 901, is that collectively bargained for, management's handbook? I don't think so. But do we use it in grievances? Yeah. So I don't know what in the fuck he's talking about, because I believe Article 19 encompasses those handbooks and manuals and things like that. HERO training would fall under Article 19. Because when we fire up management for violations of the joint statement and the DRT says, hey, y'all are going to go do HERO courses, we can hold them accountable if they don't do them. And we can grieve that if they're mandated to do HERO training. But here's the problem with this letter. It's at the sole discretion of management. If it's at the sole discretion of management, why are they falsifying it? Why are they saying it's done when it's not? If it's at the sole discretion of management, why don't they just say we're not doing it? If that's the case, if you're saying that it's the sole discretion of management, why in the fuck are they falsifying it? I don't know. So obviously there's something to the fact that they have to do the training. It's the HIP training. If it's at the sole discretion of management, why would they lie about it against Mr. Gates and say that he received the HIP training? Do you know that Renfroe had this same take as Lloyd months and months and months ago, talking about whether or not going to file it under Article 19 as a national level grievance? That was his take right there. And he said that in public. And here comes Lloyd with the same bitch-ass take as our president. You've got DRTs that are saying that it's violated, saying that it was falsified. You got that? You got informal, formal Step A resolution saying that it's falsified. If it's at the sole discretion of management, does management not know that it's at their sole discretion? Why would they sign off on the fact that they falsified it and pay out monies because of it? If they knew that it was at their sole discretion, if it's their sole discretion and we say, hey, we're going to file a grievance, you falsified and we want money, they'd say, go fuck yourself. It's at our sole discretion. Are we that fucking stupid that we're going to take this letter and say, oh, woe is me, thought we had something, guess we don't? This dude thinks we're foolish. You know why? Because he's got Barner on strings. He's his marionette. He's his puppet. So he's going to hand him this shit. Have you heard anything from anybody across the country, any business agent saying, hey, fuck this letter, we're going forward? Have you heard anything from Barner? Has he put anything out to the business agent saying, hey, got this letter, fuck that, we're going forward? Man, we're in a bad fucking way, guys, with the head of this union. These motherfuckers have lost their fucking shit. I'm going to read something to you that was put out by Manny Peralta. And this was July 18th, 2022. All right, this is a memorandum. In reviewing the initial heat injury reports as they are received, I am discovering that a number reference the fact that required HIP training had not been conducted by April 1st as per USPS instructions from safety at the headquarters level. The purpose of this memo is to request your assistance as relates to the issue of whether or not management is accurately recording training records. In this case, I focus my request to the above referenced HIP training. So, after how many episodes have I said they're falsifying records, official documents, official records? That's what that is. When you put these things into HERO, those are official postal documents. We can request HERO training. We can request management's HERO training about joint statement issues, mutual respect issues. We can request those things. It's official training. But here you have this Lloyd coming down saying, we're not obligated to even do it. We came up with it. We're not, it's for y'all's safety. It's for us to help y'all. It's for us to keep y'all educated as far as how to keep yourself safe in this heat. That's why we did it, but we don't have to do it. We're not obligated to do it. It's at our sole discretion. So we can falsify it if we want to. We can do it if we want to, not do it if we want to. How stupid does that sound? How stupid does he think well, fuck. He knows he's got that motherfucker in his pocket. So anyway, I shouldn't even said that shit. Is management recording training accurately? 1. Have any branches or individuals reported that they have not received the HIP training referenced above? If so, please have the employee log into Light Blue, then locate HERO Login in the Human Resources section. From there, hover over the My Learning menu and click on My Active Training. In this section, filter by training status completed, and you will find what is listed as training that the employee has taken. Now, if it's at the sole discretion, why would you even put it in HERO training? Why would you even have it in anything that you could look up? If it's at their sole discretion, if it's just something that they came up with, why even put it in anything? If it's not important, like Mr. Lloyd was trying to say, why would it go into Human Resources section over the My Learning menu? Why would they even put it in that if it's not a requirement? You got to dig a little bit deeper than taking these dumbasses' word for it that it's not required, or that it's not official, or that's not a training record. Don't take anybody's word for this shit. Here we've held all of these grievances as an interpretive issue. They have leaked some out, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. Well, somewhat. I am a little bit. I take that back. I have some conspiracy theories, but you say that these things are held interpretive, possibly interpretive. All these grievances are held. How are some leaking out into arbitration? Then it's not interpretive. Are they going to go back and is the union going to go back now and say, hey, we want to vacate those decisions by the arbitrator, being as they shouldn't have gone out in the first place because they were all being held as interpretive? Are we going to try to vacate those decisions? I would say not. It goes on to investigate through management why the record claims that the training was given to the employees, and based on the responses, determine what additional action is necessary at the local, district, or area level. Well, why would we do that now? Because labor come out, the one that's Barner's daddy, and said, we're not obligated to do it. Basically, we can falsify it because it's at the sole discretion if we do it or not. It's something that we came up with. It has nothing to do with the union. You can't grieve it. It wasn't part of our collective bargaining agreement. It wasn't collectively bargained for. So you can't grieve it. I've already addressed that. That's how stupid they think we are because he's working with a dumbass in Barner and thinks we're probably going to fall for that shit. He goes on background. May 4th, 2018. The USPS notified the NALC that it had created a HIP whose purpose it was to equip employees with knowledge needed to recognize and abate heat-related illness, advising that the HIP is triggered when any employee in any facility is exposed or reasonably anticipated to be exposed to heat index temperature exceeding 80 degrees Fahrenheit for extended periods of time, 6 hours or more, over the course of a work day or work shift. The Postal Service will require annual completion of a learning management system, LMS course on heat stress by all employees in every facility, regardless of exposure assessment findings. LMS course name, SAFSS, Heat Stress Recognition and Prevention, course number 100198002. This course will discuss the effects of heat on the body, outline the risk factors for heat-related illnesses, and describe the associated treatments for each. This training will also explain several control measures, techniques, and safe work practices that can be used to prevent heat-related illness as outlined in this document. So if they're requiring annual completion, how can we hold them to that if we can't grieve it? If it's a requirement that they do these things, and they say, well, it's a requirement, but it's at our discretion, then it's not a requirement. If it's at the sole discretion of management, it's no longer a requirement, right? It's not an obligation. It's your sole discretion. You can do it, not do it. Y'all see how none of this makes sense? None of this letter makes sense? But are y'all hearing any of this from national? Are y'all hearing any of this from region? Your business agents? Are any of them saying anything about it? Or are we the only ones going to talk about it on From 8 Arbitration? During a meeting of the National Safety Committee, USPS NALC, on May 15, 2018, the NALC was notified that in the future, all supervisors will be required to take the LMS course by April 1st of each year. Management also emphasized that every single city letter carrier in our bargaining units will be required to undergo this training, which is expected to be conducted in group sessions. We have been informed that if requested, there are materials that can be printed and distributed to make sure the message is understood by all our employees. So, during a meeting of the National Safety Committee, it was established that they were notified that all supervisors will be required to take the LMS course by April 1st of each year. Also emphasized that every single city letter carrier in our bargaining units will be required to undergo the training. Well, why are you saying that everybody's going to be required to do it if it's at the sole discretion of management? If they do it or not. That is not a requirement. So at the national level, they're telling the NALC at the National Safety Committee, this is a requirement. This is a requirement by management to the city letter carrier craft that we're going to do these things by April 1st. It's not a requirement, according to Mr. Lloyd. It's a suggestion. It's not a requirement. Because when you say things that like it's the sole discretion of, it's no longer a requirement. It's a suggestion. May 17th of 2019. The USPS notified the NALC of its updating to the HIP, indicating that it is now triggered when weather reports issued by the National Weather Service, NWS, for a particular work location indicate that the outdoor heat index temperatures are expected to exceed 80 degrees Fahrenheit during the course of a workday or work shift. The installation head at all local Postal Service owned or operated facilities will be responsible for the implementation of a HIP for their employees, provided the facility meets the heat exposure criteria outlined above. It is the responsibility of each installation head to ensure that employees complete the above referenced HERO course. Employees must complete this training prior to April 1 of each year. Employees who are absent when the training is provided are required to be provided with the training prior to returning to the street duties during the period April 1 through October 31st. So I'm confused now, because Lloyd clearly said in his letter, I've got the letter. He said that it's the sole discretion of management whether they do it or not. There's no obligation. It's the sole discretion of management. Well, how did I have this language here then? Because y'all know I'm big on words. It is the responsibility of each installation head to ensure that employees completed the above referenced HERO course. Employees must complete this training. Well, if employees must complete the training, then it's not at the sole discretion of management, is it? If they must complete the training. Because that's a mandate. That's an order. That's a directive. So how is it the sole discretion of management? Does he think that we're all that fucking stupid that we're not going to see that? Maybe he does. Maybe he's so used to working with Barner, he thinks that he's representative of all of us, that we're all cowardly motherfuckers and don't do shit, and we're just bend over in front of this motherfucker. I hate to tell him, we're not like that down here on this floor, in these fucking trenches. That's not how we are. We don't bend over for no fucking body. And motherfucker, let me tell you, when it comes to the safety of my people, my brothers and sisters, motherfucker, we'll get right. We'll get right about it. If he sent that letter to me, I'd send that motherfucker back, put it back in an envelope, and on the back of it, I'd say, fuck off. Fuck off. Get your advocates ready, motherfucker. We're going. Anything that wasn't settled at the DRT is a violation, that you falsified it. Anything that wasn't settled at the informal and formal, that you falsified it. Anything that was impasse where y'all said that there was no requirement, get your helmet on, bitch. Get your fucking helmet on. Get your advocates ready. We're going to get every advocate that's ever been trained. We're taking 2,100 cases in Chicago to hearing. We're taking every case around this country to hearing, because you're not going to sit there and tell me that my safety, our brothers and sisters' safety, is at the sole discretion of management. You're not going to tell me that. That y'all's obligation under 14 to keep me safe is not at the sole discretion of management. You're not going to tell me that ever. You're not going to put things in place to keep us safe and then tell me that it's y'all's sole discretion whether you do it or not. I would take that letter into arbitration with me and say, here's how management feels about keeping us safe. This is their top dog right here in labor. This is how they feel about us. It's at their sole discretion if they're going to keep us safe. Motherfucker. God. Again, have y'all heard anything from Barner? Has he sent anything out saying, hey, fuck this letter? And fuck the motherfucker who wrote it. No. Hell, he rolled over in bed and told dude, hey, man, that letter, that was funny. You shouldn't have sent that out like that. God. This update also included the following comment found in the engineering and administration controls. An escalation process is put in place to prioritize all requests for HVAC repairs and temporary abatement efforts in postal facilities. If your building air conditioners are not promptly serviced, make reference to the above and communicate with your branch officers or national business agents. August 1, 2019, the USPS notified the NALC that its cloud-based human resources system, HERO, was being enhanced. The notice included a stand-up talk which provided as follows. The Learning Portal gives you the ability to complete off-the-clock, non-postal online training courses. These courses cover a wide variety of topics on both professional and personal self-development. The above notice recognizes the employer's obligation related to the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, which requires that an employee not be required to undergo training, work, off the clock. If your managers complain and suggest that you should take this training on your own time, we need to grieve this instruction as a violation of the FLSA, the August 1, 2019 instructions in USPS 4476, and that it also violates Article 41.3K, which provides that a supervisor shall not require nor permit you to work off the clock. April 9, 2020. In response to our February 25th, 2020 inquiry, the USPS provided its 2020 HIP, which commented as follows. The fiscal year 20 heat stress recognition and prevention training course has been finalized and uploaded in our integrated HR system, HERO. This course, currently available to employees, discusses the effects of heat on a person's body, outlines the risk factors for heat-related illnesses, and describes the associated treatments for each. It also explains several control measure techniques and safe work practices that can be used to prevent heat-related stress. Current annual obligation based on USPS headquarters instructions. We have not been notified of any changes relating to HIP training nor obligations to train subsequent to 2020. Based on the above, the following are the USPS requirements for HIP training. 1. Every single carrier supervisor is required to annually take LMS course name SAFSS Heat Stress Recognition and Prevention course number 100198022. 2. Every single letter carrier is required to annually take LMS course name SAF-SS Heat Stress Recognition and Prevention. 3. The annual deadline, 2020 and beyond, to undergo the training is April 1. 4. Employees who are absent from work during the training will be provided time necessary to take the course prior to returning to their street duties. 5. Installation heads are tasked with making certain that the above obligations are met. So if it's an obligation and installation heads are tasked with making certain that those obligations are met, how is it now the sole discretion of management if they do it or not? Can anybody tell me that? Message me. Talk to me in Boston. How is it now? If it's an obligation then, and it says from here on out, it's going to be an obligation. If it's an obligation, how is it now at the sole discretion of management? Does anybody know that? I don't. Of course, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer either, so fuck, But I can read this motherfucker. I know that. I can read what it says. And to me, it sounds like there's a lot of musts and obligations and requirements in there for something to be the sole discretion of management. That goes to show you how labor at that level feels about y'all's safety and health. That goes to show you how they feel. HIP training, which we said was falsified, which newspapers were saying was falsified, which management came out and said that Mr. Gates had taken, even though it was falsified. Those things are now the sole discretion of management. You think that that's something they're trying to put out to save themselves? I do. We're not obligated to do it. Hey, look, we implemented it for y'all's safety, but we're not obligated to do it. It's their sole discretion. Well, why implement it? Does it make you look good in front of OSHA? I would send that to OSHA and say, here's what management thinks about their obligation, because I think that was associated with OSHA, I believe, as a requirement, I believe. And say management's saying now that they're not obligated to do it. It's their sole discretion to do it by April 1st. They don't have to do that. That's how I read that letter. I may have misread it, so somebody tell me if I did. But that's what we're dealing with. Because we got two cowardly motherfuckers at the top. And it's never been as bad as it is right now. I'm going to read this letter. Now, Charlie Miller goes over it at length. He goes over it at length, but I want to read it because I thought it comical. Now, here's the president sending out a letter about himself that you can't bring charges against him. And like I say with Charlie, it's like me going to court and telling the jury, hey, you can't find me guilty. And them saying, oh, we didn't know that. Yes, you can't find me guilty. And that's exactly what this letter is. It says, Dear Brothers Jackson, Miller, and Guzman, I have received the appeals that each of you have filed to the NALC National Convention from the decisions made by the Executive Council on April 26, 2024. With respect to the 4 charges filed by Brother Jackson against me, that the Council had voted to find substantial on April 26 after reviewing the report submitted by the panel of 3 members appointed by the Executive Vice President Paul Barner, the Executive Council decided by majority vote that I was not guilty of charges 1, 2, and 4, but guilty of charge 3. The Council then voted to suspend my driving privileges and record a public service announcement as the appropriate penalty for charge 3. Your appeals seek to have the convention overturn these decisions. The NALC Constitution confers upon the national president the sole authority to interpret the Constitution. Now listen to this. Now he wrote this because his name is on it, so he can't say somebody else wrote it and fucked it up. His name is on it, so he attests to that. I had that today in a removal with low-level supervision on a removal notice. They didn't write it. Labor wrote it. But I said, is that your signature on it? Yes, it is. So you agree with everything in here, being as you put your signature on it? Yes. Okay, so it is now yours. Right? Yes. This letter, it is now his because his name is on it, right? Here's what he says. The NALC Constitution confers upon the national president the sole authority to interpret the Constitution. Listen to me. Article 9, Section 1J provides that the president's decisions are final between conventions but may be approved or rejected by the convention. Remember that. In accordance with this authority, I have reviewed the Constitution to determine whether the appeals you have filed are permitted by the Constitution. I have concluded that none of these appeals are permitted and that they should not be presented to the convention. How fucking convenient. The only language in Article 10 which authorizes appeals to the convention is as follows. If the Executive Council finds the officer guilty, it shall be empowered to remove them from office or impose such other penalty as it may deem proper. Any member aggrieved by such decision of the Executive Council shall have the right to appeal to the National Convention. Did y'all hear that? Any member aggrieved by such decision. Emphasis applied. This language makes clear that the only Executive Council decisions subject to appeal to the convention are decisions to find an officer guilty of a charge and to impose a penalty. The language does not authorize appeals from Executive Council determinations that a charged officer is not guilty. Accordingly, the Executive Council's actions with respect to charges 1, 2, and 4 are not subject to appeal to the convention. Brother Miller and Brother Guzman have also appealed the Council's decision with regard to Charge 3. The Constitution specifically states that an appeal may be filed only by a member who has been aggrieved by the Council's decision. Brother Miller and Brother Guzman were not parties to the charges and have not been personally affected in any way by the Council's decision. Because they have not been personally affected or aggrieved, they do not have standing to appeal the Council's decision. Therefore, it is my decision that the appeals cannot and will not be heard by the convention. Sincerely and fraternally, Brian Renfroe. So, I read the language to you that he wrote because his signature is on it. Article 9, Section 1J provides that the President's decisions are final between conventions but may be approved or rejected by the convention. Let's go to Article 9, Section 1J, and let's see how it reads. Their decisions upon all questions of law shall be promulgated by the Secretary-Treasurer and shall be final between conventions. And where'd that motherfucker get that language at in that letter? Because that's Article 9, Section 1J. Where did he come up with the president's shit? Whoever's helping him, he should fire him. He should fire him. But he's not wanting the members to hear that. And I wonder why. Why would he want that? Why would he not want the members to hear it? Isn't that odd to y'all? And Mr. Miller and I talk about this. I think it's because he knew that he had the Executive Council in his pocket. Those cowardly motherfuckers weren't going to rule against him, and he knew that. There was only a handful that were going to do their fucking job and put the carrier first. Only a handful. The rest of them kissed this motherfucker's ass. That's what, and he knew that. He knew that going. That's the reason he lied to Mr. Weir. That's the reason he was so dishonest to Mr. Weir. That's the reason he was dishonest between the panel of three. It's because he knew that the gig was up, and I said that. I told you before it even happened. I said, watch and see what happens. Because he knew he had these motherfuckers in his pocket. That's what makes me, it's so funny on social media when I see people say, he went through the process and it was voted down, and so, get over it. Fuck you. I can see what's happening. I can see what's happening with that Executive Council. And trust me, the day for them is coming to reap this fucking whirlwind that they have caused by keeping this sorry motherfucker in office. Look at the shit that they have caused. Everything I'm going to lay in their fucking lap. All of it I'm laying in their fucking lap. This hip training, the debacle that's become, I'm laying that at the feet of the Executive Council. This contract taking this long because this motherfucker was AWOL, I'm laying that at the feet of the Executive Council. The abuse of these memos, the stationary events, this 22-minute load time, how they are fucking us over right now. I lay that at the feet of the Executive Council. This backlog of grievances, which is unlike anything we've ever seen before, and the complete shittery that's happening on these cases, selling these things for pennies on the dollar, I lay that at the feet of the Executive Council. them encouraging the DRT for this bitch-ass language, I lay that at the feet of the Executive Council. The inability to mobilize the members during the most pivotal time that we've had since 1970, the inability to mobilize us, to get out in the streets for public awareness, I lay that at the feet of the Executive Council. They have made this union the laughing stock of the Postal Service unions. The APW and Rural Care Crafts laugh at us. I lay that at the feet of the Executive Council because they didn't do their fucking job in holding this motherfucker accountable at the top. Now look, this motherfucker's going to come out with this letter stating, I have determined that I'm not going to be held accountable. I wish it was that fucking easy. We're going to see. We'll see, motherfucker, if you are. I know that shit. These motherfuckers are going to reap this motherfucking whirlwind that's coming. You're not going to fucking piss on us like that and say, get the fuck over it. We're not going to hear anything. You've out of your fucking mind. If you think we're going to sit there and bend over and take that shit. Y'all are used to bending over and taking that shit up there at the Executive Council. Baby, it's a new day. The members, the body, we'll see you in Boston, bitch. We'll see you in Boston telling us we're not going to hear these appeals because you've decided on that. You motherfucker, you. This motherfucker's time is coming to be gone. He will not be sitting in that seat in 2 years. I promise you that. In Boston, they may get away with it. They may get away with this. Because there may be people that are uneducated that don't know what the fuck is going on. I know that we'll be ready. We'll be ready. But he's gone. You're talking about one and done. He's the most one and done motherfucker I've ever seen in my life. And this Executive Council that has backed this motherfucker is gone. These MBAs that have backed this motherfucker, gone. I promise you that. A new day is here. When I tell you the motherfuckers are coming, the motherfuckers are coming, baby. We'll be there in Boston, and we will be motherfuckerin' like I said long ago. The motherfuckers are coming. We're going motherfuckerin'. We're bringing people with us this time. The members are not happy. The body is not happy. Shit has got to change, man. We are getting shit on. Every direction, we're getting shit on. And y'all think we're just going to sit there and take that fucking shit? You've lost your fucking mind. Who in the fuck are you? This motherfucker is a fucking peon. If it wasn't for this fucking job, this motherfucker would be working at McDonald's. He got handed this motherfucker and has fucking ruined that. It's fucking ruined. Like I always say, this motherfucker was born on third and thinks he hit a triple. Everything he's ever done, he had handed to him. He's not fought for a fucking thing. And you can see that. He don't want y'all to decide his fate, the members. He don't want y'all to decide that. I have decided I'm not going to be held accountable. That's what that letter said. I have decided that. You know, the fucking nerve of that motherfucker. Of course, he's so fucking narcissistic. He probably running around, look at what I did. Look at what I sent out. We'll see you in Boston, bitch. We'll see you in Boston. I know that. I saw that letter, man. People started sending me that letter. And I was like, look at this scrawny little motherfucker here. This little peon walking around with his little chest bowed out. Motherfucker. God. But, like I said, the Executive Council, they're to blame for this motherfucker. They're to blame for this shit. The ones who decided to keep this motherfucker in office, they're to blame for this. This motherfucker is who he is. He's a narcissistic little bitch, is all he is. That's all he'll ever be. And when he gets kicked out of here, he's going to go straight into management. He'll be doing something. He'll be in labor. He'll probably see some of y'all in arbitration. And y'all whip that ass in there in arbitration, man. Show him how to be an advocate. I hope that I'm the first one he goes against. If I'm the members, if I'm the body, as soon as this motherfucker starts talking, I'd get up and turn my back on him. And that's what Charlie and I talk about. The whole body should stand up and turn their back on this son of a bitch. for the shit he's done to us. And the executive council too. And show those motherfuckers we've had enough of y'all shit. I hope the charges go forward because I want to know how these bitch-ass motherfuckers voted. I want to see them stand up and say, I voted for Renfroe. Because, anytime somebody, and this is what I was talking about later with Charlie, anytime somebody stands up or when they talk to their people and they say, how'd you vote? That's none of your business. They voted for Renfroe. Just know that. Anytime they won't tell you how they voted for Renfroe. You know why they say that? Because they know they're wrong. That's why. They know they're wrong. That's the reason why. I'm not going to be scared to tell anybody how I voted. If I voted for Renfroe, I said, hey, I voted against the charges. I voted for Renfroe. What's the big deal? I mean, be a fucking man or woman about it. How'd you vote? I voted to kick his ass out. Voted to get rid of his ass. What's the big deal? Anytime somebody won't tell you how they voted for Renfroe. Just know that. All right? All right, here's Charlie Miller. Here's Charlie Miller. That's just my 2 cents, man. Here's Charlie Miller. It does a really good job. Really good job. I kind of get heated, but he does. I know y'all can't believe that, but he does a really good job. This is my last episode. This is my last episode until Boston. I will be doing an episode every single day. Okay? Every day of the convention, I'm going to do an episode and kind of give y'all a little recap of it. Okay? Once I find out what room I'm in, if people at the convention want to come in and give their people at home a shout out, you can do that. I'll let you come in there and give your people a shout out as soon as I find out what room we're in. I don't know what room we're in yet. People are bringing equipment to set up because I don't know what in the fuck I'm doing. And so, but once I realize what room I'm in, I'll put it out there. So if people want to come in and give their people a holler real quick, I don't mind that. I think that'll be fun. Okay. Again, shirt day is Wednesday. Sorry, some of y'all's business agents, branch presidents have said if y'all wear your shirts, they're going to make you take them off. Ain't nobody going to tell me that. That just, anyway, here's Charlie Miller. And enjoy that. I will not be on the other side of it, okay? I love each and every one of y'all very much. Very much. And I want to see change. I want to see the carriers put first again. We're not right now. I will not stop until that happens. Like me, don't care. I'm not going to stop until I see the city letter carrier put first in this union again. And we are not. We're not even a close second. Change is coming. We will be put first. Until then, I will keep railing on motherfuckers for failing us. That's what I'll do. I'll keep calling motherfuckers bitches and punk-ass bitches and all that until change is taking place. Because I can't stand it. I cannot stand to see my people hurt. It kills me. And so we'll just keep doing this shit, all right? I'll see y'all in Boston. Those that are going, cannot wait to see everybody, put faces with names and shit. See y'all Sunday night at the meet and greet. Y'all be there. But if not, during the week, I'll be in Region 8. Don't know where our seating is yet. I think they find out tomorrow. They draw numbers for that, and I think we find out tomorrow. So knowing this, we'll probably be in the very back right corner. So they're probably going to put this motherfucker in the back right. But I'll let y'all know. Just go to Region 8, and that's where I'll be. Y'all come holler at me, man. And I can't wait to see you. I love each and every one of you. Here's Charlie. I'll talk to y'all in Boston. Bye. All right. I got Mr. Charlie Miller back on. Y'all remember him from the other day. Had a lot of great comments about Mr. Miller. And he's coming on because he is embroiled in this hubbub about this letter. And so I wanted him to come on and talk about the letter and just a few other things. I know he's packing and getting ready for Boston. And his wife is all over him about being on a Zoom with Corey. So I'm going to try to get him off here as fast as he can and so he don't stay in trouble. Charlie, you with me?
I'm here.
All right, brother. What I'm going to do, Charlie, is we've talked earlier about this letter that Renfroe sent out. I'm going to read this letter to you, and then let's discuss it, all right?
All right.
There's a lot of talk on social media about this letter, one way or the other. Some saying that, oh, well, the president has spoken, and so the CLC has failed. And a lot of people are saying we need to get in there and make a statement. And so I want you to tell your opinion on this letter and to see where we stand. All right.
All right.
All right. I'm going to read the letter and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
It's July 29th of 2024. And it's to Mr. Christopher Jackson, Director of City Delivery, Charles Miller, retired member, and Ricardo Guzman, President, NALC Branch 70. The dear brothers Jackson, Miller, and Guzman, I have received the appeals that each of you have filed to the NALC National Convention from the decisions made by the Executive Council on April 26 of 2024 with respect to the 4 charges filed by Brother Jackson against me that the council had voted to find substantial. On April 26, after reviewing the report submitted by the panel of 3 members appointed by Executive Vice President Paul Barner, the Executive Council decided by majority vote that I was not guilty of charges 1, 2, and 4, but guilty of charge 3. The council then voted to suspend my driving privileges and record a public service announcement as the appropriate penalty for charge 3. Your appeals seek to have the convention overturn these decisions. The NALC Constitution confers upon the national president the sole authority to interpret the Constitution. Article 9, Section 1J provides that the president's decisions are final between conventions, but may be approved or rejected by the convention. In accordance with this authority, I have reviewed the Constitution to determine whether the appeals you have filed are permitted by the Constitution. I have concluded that none of these appeals are permitted and that they should not be presented to the convention. The only language in Article 10 which authorizes appeals to the convention is as follows. If the Executive Council finds the officer guilty, it shall be empowered to remove them from office or impose such other penalty as it may deem proper. Any member aggrieved by such decision of the Executive Council shall have the right to appeal to the National Convention. Emphasis supplied. This language makes clear that the only Executive Council decisions subject to appeal to the convention are decisions to find an officer guilty of a charge and to impose a penalty. The language does not authorize appeals from Executive Council determinations that a charged officer is not guilty. Accordingly, the Executive Council's action with respect to charges 1, 2, and 4 are not subject to appeal to the convention. Brother Miller and Brother Guzman have also appealed the council's decision with regard to charge 3. The Constitution specifically states that an appeal may be filed only by a member who has been aggrieved by the council's decision. Brother Miller and Brother Guzman were not parties to the charges and have not been personally affected in any way by the council's decision. Because they have not been personally affected or aggrieved, they do not have standing to appeal the council's decision. Therefore, it is my decision that the appeals cannot and will not be heard by the convention. Sincerely and fraternally, Brian L. Renfroe, President, and courtesy copy to Paul Barner, Executive Vice President. So, I do want to point out one thing and then I'll let you have it, okay?
Sure.
In the letter, it talks about the language in Article 9, Section 1J. And it says, and he writes that he signed it. Article 9, Section 1J provides that the president's decisions are final between conventions, but may be approved or rejected by the convention. Now, that's what he writes. Article 9, Section 1J actually states, their decisions upon all questions of law shall be promulgated by the Secretary-Treasurer and shall be final between conventions. So do you know where he got the language that he wrote on his letter?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know. Out his ass.
So he wrote that out of his ass. Because what he wrote is not the Constitution language.
No, not at all. Here's what the Constitution says, okay?
All right.
And
I'll
it's
let you have
Article 1, Section 4 of the National Constitution says the National Convention is the supreme body to which the final appeal shall be made on all matters emanating from members, branches, and state associations. So we're entitled by the Constitution to file an appeal to the convention on all matters, if it affects a member, a branch, or a state association. We anticipated, last time I was on the show, we talked about parliamentary maneuvering and all the commotion that could be put up on this. And so we anticipated something would happen with Renfroe. What surprised us really was the ham-handed amateurish approach. You know, it's a fundamental principle in law and ethics that you don't make a presidential decision on matters that you're a party to. And defending yourself. Let's put the events into context here for a minute. President Renfroe made this decision on July 29th, 1 week before the National Convention. You know, the convention's more than classes and good times for a week, faraway city. The National Convention is the union's deliberative body. The delegates there are elected by their peers at the branch level to decide the fate and the future of our union. Fact is, our Constitution mentions repeatedly that the membership is supreme. There is no reason for Renfroe to take the improper action that he did. He should have taken this matter to the convention. This position has merit. In 1993, President Vince Sombrado and the entire executive council was brought up on charges. He called a special convention. He didn't make the decision himself whether or not that was proper. He left it up to the delegates at the National Convention to make that call. 1 week from the convention, Renfroe makes this call, this self-serving call. You know, if his position has merit with regard to the appeals, then, you know, the delegates at the convention will make that decision. They're the ones that make the decision, not him. If not, they'll also let him know. The point is, he's afraid of his own membership. The comparison between the courts and our Constitution is pretty much a red herring, what's going on around right now. Our system provides for a committee of 3 to review the investigative report and take into evidence testimony and render a verdict. In this case, the committee found Renfroe guilty of 2 of the charges. If we were analogous to the courts, then it would have ended there. However, the executive council voted on all 4 of the charges. This is significant because it tells you that the executive council had the authority to overturn the committee's verdicts. Now, if that's true and the membership is the supreme body, they also have that same opportunity to do that. Hence the appeals. As I said, there's an example of that when President Sombrado called this special convention. And in his letter that he sent out, the presidential ruling, there's a portion that I want to quote. And he says, guilty or innocence of the charges brought by Brother Noble must be made by the convention. Imagine that. President Sombrado wasn't afraid of his membership. He let the information out. The members voted according to the information, and that was that. In this case, Renfroe should have brought the issue to the convention and made his case and let the delegates decide. This is exactly the purpose with making a motion to overturn Renfroe's self-serving presidential ruling. That's what we're trying to accomplish at the convention. We want to overturn the decision and have the membership decide.
Here's what I think, and I could be wrong.
Sure.
I think Renfroe is one of the most narcissistic individuals I've ever met. And I think that his behavior during this entire period of time has established that to a lot of people. Uh, his refusal to acknowledge any wrongdoing during any of this. The video that he made, people were like, well, he looks sincere. He was made to do that video where he was talking about sobriety. That wasn't something he chose to do. He was made to do that video. And so he's not apologized to anybody this day, Susan Miller, James Henry, us. He's not done that. He was forced to apologize to Region 1, I believe, when they were in his ass out there.
That was Brother Guzman.
Yes, yeah. And he knew, and nobody can tell me different. He knew that the executive council was in his pocket during this entire period of time. And I think that's why he really didn't care about being dishonest to Mr. Weir, because Mr. Weir called him out several times about his dishonesty, about not being truthful. I don't think he really cared one way or the other if he was honest or truthful, because he knew the entire time that these cowardly motherfuckers on the executive council were not going to vote against him. There was only a handful that he knew that was going to vote against him, those that were not scared of him. The one thing he does not have in his pocket is the body, the members. He does not have them in his pocket. He does not want them to hear these charges. And that's the reason he's come out a week before, because he knows if it goes before the body, they're not in his pocket. He's got some allies. He's got some people that don't really give a shit what he does. They're going to say, we're not voting against the president. I'm not one of those. I don't give a damn who the president is. If they're fucking up, they got to go. And so I think he's terrified of the body, of the members. And that's the reason he took it upon himself to write this letter, like you're just talking about, with all these I's and me's. Here's a guy who's saying, you're not going to bring me up to trial. I wish that if I ever get arrested, I could tell the judge that, or the jury, I'm not going to trial. Oh, okay, well, that sounds great. I wish I had that kind of power. But that's basically what he's done. He's told the jury, I'm not going to trial. So now what? And but I sincerely think that he knew that he had the executive council in his pocket. He was not concerned about anything. The most serious charge, I think it was, Arrow said, is 21-7, which is laughable. And but that's my opinion. I could be wrong.
Well,
that's what I think.
I don't totally disagree with you. I more than likely he is a narcissist, but he's an incompetent narcissist. He doesn't have the experience or the knowledge to run this union. And I got to say something about the executive council. There was 7 members on that executive council that stood tall. All right. People, lots of times, they tend to paint with the big brush and blame everybody. But there was 7 people that stood tall. Actually, there was as many as 9 at one time. And I have a lot of admiration for the 7 people. I know at least 4 who at least 4 of them were, and I suspect another 3. But I can tell you this, people of our age, we know everybody claims they have gone to Woodstock, right? And there's like a Woodstock syndrome going on on the executive council, because everyone's starting to claim that they voted for guilty.
Right.
So, it's almost laughable what's happening, and things have been evolving rather quickly. And people that he thought he could depend on at one time, he can't. And the membership's going to start to see that. And, it takes a while for some of this stuff to happen. And, the thing about the CLC lost and all of that. Well, yeah, I heard the same comments on the on the social media sites, and I know where they're coming from. Our opponents in social media generally run between former national officers, former staffers, and people currently on the payroll. There's there's a number of people who hold paid positions on the NALC that are on social media 24/7, bad-mouthing the CLC and bad-mouthing people who believe that they're not being served well by the national president. That's you're hired to do a job, you should be doing the job and not playing on social media. If you're going to play politics, you should be doing it on your own time. But yeah, we're aware that there are opponents. Not everyone's going to agree with us, and that's all right. The Constitution's pretty clear on this. And when they talk about any aggrieved member, you have to take the plain language, what it means. Aggrieved means anybody who feels that they were wronged, anybody who feels that an injustice was done to them. It doesn't, if the Constitution meant to say that only the person who was charged can file an appeal, then it would have said that. It doesn't. It says that any aggrieved member. So, I understand Mr. Renfroe's got legal counsel and they've advanced legal theories on his behalf. But I have legal counsel as well, and they've advanced a legal theory that says that we're correct as well. That's what lawyers do. Everybody's got an attorney. Everybody's represented by an attorney with some kind of legal theory. Charles Manson's attorney had a legal theory. Bernie Madoff's attorney had a legal theory. So did Donald Trump's attorney. They all had legal theories. Some of them were quite convincing, but it doesn't mean that they're correct. So when I hear from some of the folks that are on the clock campaigning for Renfroe saying that that's what the attorneys say, well, of course the attorneys are going to advance a legal theory for their client. And if anybody believes that the attorneys work for the members here, let me just say this: they're at will. Renfroe can fire them anytime he wants. These attorneys, if you look at our financial report under professional services, they get millions of dollars a year from the NALC, millions of dollars a term. And you think that they want to give up that gold mine? If you get bit by a dog, does the NALC attorney represent you? If you have a problem where you need an attorney that's work related, does the NALC provide you an attorney? No. The NALC represents people at headquarters. So when the people at headquarters get advice, your union dues are being paid or going out paying for that advice they're getting. So I would say, of course, any law firm that stands to gain millions of dollars from an organization is going to favor the people who sign the checks. Just as my attorney favors me and gives me a legal theory as well.
Right. I got two things. Every member, every city carrier in the country is aggrieved by what he's done. Him being AWOL, and I think Mr. Cariff and I talked about this, him being AWOL has aggrieved every member. Here we are sitting on 400 something days, and he keeps popping this out. I think they're saying now he's telling the executive council we're hours away. We're hours away, But every member, every city carrier is aggrieved. So when it talks about aggrieved members, that's us. That's all of us, because we're all aggrieved by his actions. He works for us. I don't think he believes that, but he works for us. So we are all aggrieved. The executive council, let me say this, the executive council, when they're saying that they're not going to tell people how they voted, the only reason because you said this about more and more are saying, I voted he was guilty, and so it's like these third world countries that have 130% of the people vote.
Yeah.
The numbers ain't adding up. So if you're saying, if you got 21 4 and 7 against, and 15 are saying, we voted against it, well, something ain't adding up. That's the reason you don't do it secret. That's the reason. If you know that you're right, if you know that you're what you've done is righteous and right, you don't care if people know how you voted. You don't care if Renfroe know. I didn't vote for you. I voted against you. I think what you did was wrong. I vote to uphold the charges. The only reason you would tell people that you're not going to tell them why you voted is you know you're wrong. And so, how you want to change, how you want to count the votes is say, who'd you vote for? It's none of your business. Okay, you voted for Renfroe. Now, how'd you vote? And that's the one way to do it, but that's the only reason people are running
Well,
around saying that they're not going to say how they voted because they know that they're wrong and how they voted.
there's two things about having the charges dealt with by the delegates at the convention. One, it brings closure to this issue. We got to stop the chaos. We have to bring closure to the issue one way or the other. Either put him out or let him off the hook, or maybe give him his censor like the committee recommended, or suspend him, whatever penalty that's imposed. That'll be fine with me because that's what the membership decided. That's what the supreme body, what our Constitution says, what I support says, that the supreme body makes a decision. Secondly, the benefit about bringing this forward is that we're not going to stop at a voice vote. We're going to ask for a division. And people are going to have to take a stand. They're going to have to stand up and show who they support. And you don't think that we ain't going to record who is voting where with the executive council. Come 2026, people have a right to know who stood up for them.
Let's talk about this council, the in-house council that he hired without going through the executive council, which is, it's my understanding, that's what he's required to do.
Article 9 says that he's entitled to hire a litany of people, but it's all subject to the ratification and approval of the executive council. It's clear in the Constitution.
And as far as you know, that's not happening.
The latest reports that I've had, that it hasn't happened yet. And I don't know that it will before the convention. But this is not new news. They know we know this.
Yeah,
I mean, you've talked about it. Yeah. So I mean, and they listen to you, right?
I think they do.
They get a copy of the transcript. I know that.
Yeah.
So our people inside there tell us that they got a copy of the transcript. So, and it amazes me that he just doesn't bring it to the executive council because they'll rubber stamp it.
Why would he? Why would he?
I think that falls under, your assertion that he's a narcissist. That
I wouldn't bring it before the executive council. They've already shown their true colors. Fuck them. Why would he bring anything in front of them? I'm just going to hire him. What are y'all going to do about it? Y'all have already shown that y'all are incapable of making a decision against me. So I'm not going to do what the Constitution says. And what are you going to do about it? You've already got him in your pocket. He must have something on pictures or something of these son of a bitches or something.
I don't know.
I'm going to try to find out.
He's all he has to do is take it to the executive council and he's off the hook. If he doesn't, he exposes himself. Any member can bring up a charge.
Yeah.
And if he's not, in compliance with Article 9 and getting the ratification and approval from that, he exposes himself to a charge and he exposes the entire membership to the same chaos and trauma that we've experienced over this last year.
Let me ask you this. He's hired in-house counsel. We know that for a fact. He's not gone to the executive council as he's required to do. How much of this in-house counsel, how much dues money have they received of ours as of right now?
All right. Now, this is secondhand information. I don't have confirmation of it, but I was told it was $360,000 was the retainer.
360,000 of our dollars.
Yes.
Where I've got people out there that I've got carriers in my station that are out there right now. I was in arbitration today, but they're out there in thunderstorms and all that shit making money so that they can give some of that money to the union. So this bastard can give in-house counsel that he's not gotten approved through the executive council. Is that right?
As of this morning, I can say yes. I don't know what's happened this afternoon.
Brother,
I mean,
I tell you what, I don't see how everybody in this fucking convention don't just stand up and turn their fucking back on this son of a bitch. I don't see how, however many, if we got 10,000, I don't see how 10,000 people immediately stand the fuck up and turn their back on this son of a bitch. That's
well,
crazy.
I read a statistic, and I don't know if it's correct or not, but they said 70% of Americans are on social media. And so I consider the letter carrier craft as a, reflection of America in general.
Right.
And so 70% of our craft participates in social media.
Yeah.
But close to 90% of the people out there claim that they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
There is, to a certain extent, a head in sand approach, and there's a myriad of reasons behind it. In our last election, election for officers, only 15% of the membership voted. That means 230,000 of our members felt disaffected.
Disinterested.
That should be a wake-up call to everybody. Where we're at today has got to change. The status quo has to change. There was a time where we had an active and participative membership. You have, this movement afoot with these guys out in Minnesota, the open bargaining.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just taking us to where we were in 1980. They're saying that we should be participating. We should be, taking our case public.
Yep.
And it's apparent to me that our leadership is afraid to do that. They're afraid to offend somebody. I don't think we've filed a national level grievance in the past 2 years.
I don't think that some bitch knows what one is.
We're afraid to offend management. Since when have we been? I mean, tell the shop steward that has to go in and argue with the supervisor in there that's the biggest jerk in the world and take all kinds of crap from him while he's trying to represent somebody on a piece of discipline. Tell him that we shouldn't offend management. Tell the branch president that works 16 hours a day putting grievances out and meeting on grievances and stuff that we shouldn't offend management. Let's be for real here.
Crazy.
Why are you leading from behind? You should be leading the charge. Let me tell you a story that really, really impressed me when I was just making my bones coming up. And I think this was like 1986 or maybe it was 88. And we had our state convention in San Diego. And right next to this hotel, there's this restaurant. I forget the name of the restaurant, but there was a picketer out there. They had one picketer on strike out there walking the picket line. When the convention adjourned for the day and I walked outside, there was Vince walking the picket line with that guy. And before you knew it, there was, California has a pretty big delegation for a state convention. Before you knew it, there was 300 delegates out there walking the picket line with them.
Right.
That's leading from the front. He didn't get on the microphone and tell people to come out. He just set the example.
I had the episode, Charlie, about the shepherd and the sheep herder. The shepherd's going to lead from the front. The sheep herder is going to lead from the back. That's the difference between those two. Sombrado was a shepherd. He was going to lead from the front and protect us. Renfroe, that motherfucker's in the back. He's a sheep herder. He ain't going to be in the front. He ain't going to organize. He ain't going to do shit like that. And we've already seen that. So
I encourage the young people to get involved with the movements that are afoot, with especially geared to the open bargaining and stuff. I don't agree with their entire agenda, but I agree with enough of it to get behind them and support them. I don't think there's everybody that agrees entirely with our agenda, but
you don't think? You don't think so?
but, but the movement that we have is gaining momentum. Every day we have more and more people coming on. We started off in March, and we got our webpage up and running, and we went on to social media in July, on July 22nd. And we've gone from, dozens to hundreds to thousands now of people in our database that listed themselves as supporters and endorsers and volunteers for this upcoming election. So it's pretty phenomenal, the rate of growth that we've been experiencing.
Yeah.
People can see that on the social media site every day. You can see 200, 300, 400 new people come on to follow our site.
Yeah.
So all that's really encouraging, and get involved. Go to the meetings. If you're not satisfied with the union, become a steward. Earn your bones and move up the ranks. Get yourself elected and change the union. We all have a small part to play in making this change. We can go back to where we were. We don't have to be that lone picketer in front of that restaurant. There is 280,000 of us. And if we can get together and unite behind a cause, and that cause should be just where Brother Henry's at, make letter carriers, industry leaders, and pay benefits and working conditions. That's
Right.
something to aspire for.
Yeah.
That's an honest goal to try to achieve. And it doesn't matter if you're old or young. If you're an industry leader in pay, you're going to get what's just and what's right. Let's get together. Let's unite and move forward.
Well, growing up, one of the guys I respected the most, and I talked about him in one of my very first episodes, a guy named Junior Tibbs. He was a little guy. He fought anybody. He didn't care who it was. He was fighting. I respected him more than anybody else because of that. He didn't care what the fight was. He's fighting. And that's what the unions want right now. You talk about people are waking up. Carriers got their eyes wide open right now. It's harder and harder for those cronies, those lackeys, those lapdogs to keep buffaloing the majority like they have been. Renfroe's this, Renfroe's that. The letter carriers starting to open their eyes up and see for themselves. Y'all been talking a lot of shit to us. This motherfucker ain't fighting nothing. The letter carriers want a champion. They want a fighter. Win or lose, fight. That's how Junior Tibbs was. Win or lose, he's fighting you. You know what that kept people from doing? Fighting him. They knew he didn't care. He's fighting whatever he had to do to win. He's going to win, Charlie. He's going to pick up a brick. I remember he picked up some landscaping brick one time and hit this kid in the head with it. That was a lot bigger than him because he's just going to fight. I mean, he didn't care. That's what the city letter carrier is craving right now, is a fighter, somebody that will fight for them. We do not have it with this guy, Renfroe. We just don't have a fighter. And so the carriers are starting to wake up. Their eyes are wide open right now. And like I said, these lackeys that have been buffaloing everybody about the contract, and I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second, and all these other things, they're starting to realize, y'all been feeding us a line of shit for a while. We've got a coward up at the top, man. We need some change. And here comes the CLC and James Henry. That's the fighter, and that's the champion that people have been wanting and looking for. So that's my 2 cents. You didn't ask for it, but I just gave you 2 cents right there.
I'll tell you this. If you want to get in the fight, follow the Marine.
Yeah.
Follow Gunner Henry.
Yeah.
If you want to be in the fight, follow the Marine.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's going. I'm behind him,
That's right.
I want to talk about the contract. If you don't, you got a second?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. The contract. Now we hear from a good source that he's telling people it's hour by hour. It could come at any time. Hour by hour. Right here, Thursday before the convention, it's hour by hour. We could have something at midnight. We could have something tomorrow or Saturday. We could be rolling into the convention with a tentative agreement. What do you say about that? What are you hearing, if anything?
I have a couple of thoughts on it.
All right.
First and foremost, I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
All right. Secondly, I'm retired, so I'm not affected. I don't even get a vote on the contract. But I think it's extremely cruel to build up people's hopes and expectations just to have them crash down again. That's not fair. You either have an agreement or you don't. You don't tantalize and tease people. These guys have been on the hook. It's been over 500 days since we've had a COLA. We have people out there making fast food wages that are desperately needing a pay raise. We got tier 2 letter carriers. We're going to put out a paper shortly about tier 2 letter carriers who are on public assistance because they're not making enough money to support their family. Can you imagine that?
I was fixing to say,
NALC
did you
members
ever
on
think?
public assistance.
Did you ever think you'd hear that?
No, I'm
Did,
ashamed. I've
I
got
would.
45 years, almost 45 years invested in this union, and I'm ashamed of the fact that we have people making fast food wages and are looking have to go and get public assistance to get by for them and their children. That shames me to no end. You could call me all kinds of names. I'm used to that. I've been a union officer for a long time. But when I see our members on public assistance, it humbles me.
Yeah,
It tells me that we're not producing for our people.
we failed.
And it's just wrong. It's unfair to come out with rumors constantly that we're 2 weeks away, we're 2 hours away. It reminds me of this insurance commercial with the guy with the fishing pole and the dollar on the end of it telling him,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're almost there."
Yeah,
You
you
know,
almost got it. Almost got it.
you know, it's not even humorous. It puts you on the verge of tears when you see what's happening to our people out there. You know, the guy that's out there making less than $20 an hour is an NALC member.
Yep.
Whatever happened to all for one? That's a leadership issue.
Well,
Is
that's
our
what
leadership out there telling us, look, we're in a fight for everybody here. We got to take care of these guys. You need to give them a substantial wage increase, and at the same time, you need to cut 2 or 3 of those steps off at the bottom of the barrel, so these guys start at a decent wage. And it doesn't. It only took me 8 years to reach top salary. When I first started, the guys on the top of the scale complained because there was only $3,000 difference between the top of the scale and the bottom of the scale. Today, it's $30,000. It's out of whack. Our people at the bottom of the scale are being abused. And we're tormenting them with promises of a contract around the corner. Shut your mouth, produce, or don't say anything at all.
Yeah, I agree. I would hate to think that this shit was being done for political purposes. And I said that maybe last week before,
Of course
that
it is. Of course it is. You can't get rid of me now. You need me. The contract's just around the corner. If I go, you're not going to get anything. That's the message that's being sent to people. That's what this is all about.
here's a guy that the executive council thought we could not rule against him on this because we needed him in negotiations. That was kind of the word I was getting. That they were saying you can't do that because, well, I know for a fact one business agent said it. We couldn't get rid of him right now because, man, we're right in the middle of negotiations. He's got to be there. That's the biggest load of shit I've ever heard. This motherfucker hadn't even negotiated an LMOU at the local level. As far as I know, he's had one arbitration. What makes him such a great negotiator? That we were without him when it started. We had our former president, Sombrado, and Mr. Yates step up, and Mr. Barner, who everybody said kicked the shit out of it, did such a great job. I know I get on that son of a bitch all the time, but I'm going to give props where they're due. They said he wore it the fuck out when Renfroe was AWOL. Why in the fuck do we need him? These people, it's always another excuse. We couldn't get rid of him. We're right here in the negotiations. Fuck him. What's this motherfucker done? We're 400 and some days without some. And you got this silly ass kid running around saying, couple more hours. We're hours away. Like you said, shut the fuck up and go get a contract done, and quit worrying about these appeals. If it was me, I'd want the members to vote. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm guilty? I want y'all to tell me rather than y'all ain't going to hear it. Y'all ain't going to hear
Well,
anything about me.
if he hits a home run on a contract, I'll be the first one to throw rose petals at his feet.
Hey, I told him last week, I hope it's the greatest contract we've ever received because we need it and we deserve it. I hope it's $20 an hour. I hope it's the greatest thing we have ever seen. And I will say that's the greatest contract we've ever had. And it's overly due. And we should have gotten it 400 days ago. And the fact that the Postal Service doesn't recognize us as for what we are, that's always going to be the case. They think that we're replaceable, and they're giving themselves, what is it, a 21% raise, a 16 plus 5, something like that. So that's the joke that is.
Last time I was on the show, I made a comment complimenting President Rolando for stepping up. And I made it in context with the charges in Renfroe being MIA. But and I understand I'm going to get in trouble again because I understand that Paul Bonner's made some poor choices and some bad decisions. He stood up, he stepped up, and he did what he needed to do when came time to bargain our economic package. Him and President Rolando together were working on an agreement. They should have been left intact and left alone. And the only reason why they weren't is that Renfroe was making an ego play. He wanted to be the one. He wanted to be the one to do it. He could have overseen their progress. Why interrupt what they had going on?
Why not just join? Why not just go in there and join them and say, hey, what have we gotten accomplished so far? All right, let's batten down the hatches and let's get with it. What do we need to do? Rather than, and you saw in the Weir report, he got pissed at Rolando for stepping up to help out. That shows you how egotistical this son of a bitch is. Don't steal my glory. You're trying to steal my thunder here. This is my first contract, and you're in here trying to steal my thunder on it. What a crazy bitch that is to sit there and say, I'm going to get mad at the very person who came in to bail my ass out because I just went walking somewhere and then show up for 3 more months. How egotistical is that to say, I'm going to get angry at President Rolando for bailing my ass out? That's all that is ego, narcissism. You're not going to steal my thunder. This is my first contract. I'm going to handle this. The Weir report said that he was angry at Rolando. What a pompous little bitch that is, man.
Well, Brother Weir has been maligned and mistreated as well for just doing what he thought was right. He followed things where his investigation took him. He found things that we didn't know about when the charges were written up. I have never seen things as bad as they are today. I think I mentioned on the last show, in 1981, Vince had us ready to go out on strike over a 2-tier wage system. And today we've ratified contracts with the 2-tier wage system. How far have we fallen?
We have no fight.
Where is our moral compass today?
We have no fight.
Forgive and forget about the alcoholism, the MIA, the drunk driving, and all of that other stuff. But the bottom line is, what in the hell are you doing?
Right.
Do you even know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Yes. Why aren't you out there? Your troops, they're dying to go. People are ready to stand up and be noticed out there. They're angry. They're willing to go out and shout, and you're not out there to lead them.
Right.
I mean, we're in Jacksonville. This guy has an enough is enough rally for his photo ops, right? Mm-hmm. And they march across the bridge, across the river there to City Hall. That was like 2 miles or whatever. Renfroe gets a ride. He doesn't even lead the march.
Yeah, he said he had surgery on his back. I think he said he had some kind of surgery on his back, and they're like, what's that got to do with your feet? But it's like, I don't remember that. It's something like that.
It's always something, some kind of
Yes.
excuse,
He's like, fuck
you know.
no, I'm not walking across that bridge. That's a long way. I'm gonna get one of these scooters.
It's not my fault. It's this guy or this thing or that or
Yeah.
something else and another and another. You know,
Yeah.
stand up and be a man and take responsibility.
Yeah. He looked out there and he
You
said, now
know,
we're gonna walk where? Go walk across that. Fuck that. I'll meet y'all
yeah.
over there.
No,
Yeah.
and you know, I feel the anger and the frustration that the younger carriers have, and I understand that, you know, and rightfully so in a large aspect that they blame the older carriers out there. But if you really want to change things in the union, you have to build a coalition.
Yeah.
You have to do it all together. It can't be us versus them. We have to do this together as city letter carriers, working all of us together in our own interest. And this is a leadership issue. And this is where Brother Henry comes into play. He's a young man full of energy. He has a lot of leadership experience. He has a strong moral compass. He knows right from wrong, and he will put us back on course.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
And you have good people behind him. You got take a look at what Dave Grosskopf accomplished by shutting down that PNDC move. Take a look at that. You got a real lion out there in Branch 41 and John Cruz. You have a guy that's a phenomenal person that's widely known and has a fantastic background in Howard Kamini out of Branch 860 in Hawaii. And in a short period of time, oh, and you got this guy out in Region 8 named what the hell's that guy's name? Walton. There you go.
John Boy or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's running for national business agent. There is a hell of a team, Walt, out in Region 6 that we're putting together. In a couple of weeks after the convention, there'll be some more announcements. So my advice to carriers out there, don't cry about it, organize. Don't get mad, jump up and organize. Be part of this. Be part of the change. Make the change happen. If you believe nothing's going to happen, well, guess what?
That's going to happen.
So, yeah, you have to believe. I don't know what else to tell you, brother.
Man, I think you covered it all. I think you covered every bit of it.
One last word.
Yes, sir.
Membership needs to answer this question. Can the NALC president dismiss charges brought against him? Can he dismiss his own charges? Not have the appeals heard by the membership? Who is the supreme body here? The membership or him?
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Well, I think that's going to be challenged from what I hear.
We're up for the fight.
I think we are. I think the CLC will be there.
I think people will be pleasantly surprised at the convention.
You think so?
We do have a strategy,
Wow.
and we do have the manpower to take it to take the fight on.
Well,
So
if I didn't,
come
if
Tuesday
I didn't,
morning, come Tuesday morning, I hope to see some folks at the meet and greet.
yeah, yeah. But you
Room
know,
107.
Carly, I would not have my name associated with the CLC if I didn't believe in it, and if I didn't think that the motherfuckers were coming. And that's what I've been saying for a while. You know, when I talk about the lions are coming, the motherfuckers are coming. I would not have my name associated with it if I didn't truly believe in it 100%. I'm telling everybody at that convention, the motherfuckers are going to be there. We won't be hard to find, you know, because we're taking over this shit. We're taking back over this union and putting it on the right path, man, to where people are going to fight for the city letter carrier again. My God, did you ever have to think you'd say that? But
No.
we're going to put fighters back in positions to fight and make sure that every single carrier in this country is educated and has representation and is proud of the NLC again. And that is a long way gone right now. unfortunately. But hell, we're coming. We're going to be there. Trust that.
Well, let me say this about the CLC. It's kind of a rap that a lot of people give us is called they call us the California letter carriers, right?
Well,
Stuff like
hell,
that.
I'm born in Nashville.
Well, let me tell you, Ricardo Guzman, the chairman of our organization, this was his vision. He had California well organized, and we knew that it wasn't enough. We had to organize everybody. And that's how he created the concerned letter carriers. So it just wouldn't be a California thing. It would be a nationwide movement. And if you look at our people, it is a nationwide movement. It's not just the guys from California. I wanted to give a shout out to Ricardo because he's put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this. He has a good branch that's well organized. He has good officers, good stewards who do a fantastic job out there. He could be coasting, but he's putting in 20-hour days between being branch president and running the campaign. So
his passion is unmatched. I'll give that man. His passion for the city letter carrier is unmatched. But fuck, it had to start somewhere. You know, so it's got to start somewhere. Yeah, I mean, it had to start somewhere. So, if it's based on here's it going to be the Nashville whatever, or it's got to start somewhere. So fuck, I don't get that at all. I think the world of care, but that's not going to, they're not calling that the Chicago Coalition or whatever. Just because it had to start there. So I don't get that knock. I think that's kind of silly.
I've known Mike for a long time. I've worked with him. I invited him in with the CLC, and I just want people to know we don't consider Mike an opponent. Renfroe is our opponent.
Right.
We don't need to come to loggerheads or go to town on each other. That's bad form and a bad idea because we have a mutual goal. We just have different paths that we're going to follow to get there. So
people know how I feel about Mike. I love that guy, and I think that everything will work out. I'm just going to say that
nobody's hating on him. I can tell you that nobody's hating on him. Mike's every letter carrier is entitled to run for any office that they so choose.
Exactly.
Anybody. And I would support that with all my might. Nobody should be excluded.
Which they're right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why would you? You're not going to tell somebody they don't have the right to do something they have the right to do. So I think that's foolish. I know a lot of people are concerned, but it will work itself out. It'll be fine. I'm not concerned about it. Yeah. My brother, go pack. Your wife's going to kill me for having you on this long. Tell her I apologize. I don't want her after me in Boston. So,
well, brother, you need to get some rest. You were at it all day long in arbitration today, and I admire that. You put a full day on the battlefield, and you come back home and you get into this.
Hey, it was my privilege. I've always loved talking to you, man. You got to come on more often. Everybody loved you when you was on here the last time.
Oh well. You need younger people. You don't need any old people on this show.
I got younger. Hell, I had Tyler Vassar on the other day. He's young.
Yeah, that and his crowd are going to be the future leaders of the NALC. So do what you can to influence them and go into the right direction.
Yeah,
we desperately need the next generation stepping up.
But we need the experience of people like you, though, that can help out, and that's definitely needed.
Well, if you want to hear from a crazy old man, give me a call anytime. I'm here.
Right. Hey, I'll see you Sunday.
All right, brother.
Y'all be safe, Charlie. We'll see you, buddy.
Okay, take care.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Bye.